Dan, Mike, Tom, great to be here at the newly improved Marlow Road. It's been a fantastic pre-season so far. So many positive vibes, a lot of good energy around the place. And the burning question, Dan, I'm going to start with you, from the supporters really has been about the project, because the new signings have referenced it in their interviews with us and in their discussions with you guys when they were signing for the club, their excitement at the project. What does the project look like?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed too much from when we've spoken previously. I think, when we took over the club, it was really apparent the direction we want to take the club, and I've been really open and transparent with that and where we want to get to. I think the project is lots of different, facets. There's lots of things going on around the club, and obviously we're sat in one of them right now. And having met with all the players and their representatives, it's really apparent that we have probably, and Mike references quite a lot, like the most exciting project in the country. And what is that? That is everything from the facility. It's everything from Marlow Road. It's everything to do with the stadium and the new pitch that's being built over there. It's to do with the academy, and how that's being built. And from our side, the plan that we all understand internally is we're able to deliver that day in, day out. And the standards are being risen. Everything that we've done day to day is gone to a different level. So I think from the selling point for players to come to the football club, we reference all the new members of staff we brought in. The professionalisation of all the different departments. We've now improved and increased on other areas like nutrition, performance, lots of different areas. So when we're able to present that, it's providing a platform for players to understand that this is an environment where they're going to be developed to an elite standard, but also then understand that there's another level to go again. And I think it's just it's different. This is a blank canvas. It's always been a blank canvas. So it's allowing us to now put into motion some of the things that we've always talked about. We're now seeing the fruits of that. And I think that's what the project ultimately is. We still got a long way to go in the project and the plans and the programme. So,
Tom, you joined the club in the spring. At that point, the club had just gone in a different direction, really, with a head coach for the first time rather than a manager. Wycombe fans previously been used to having a manager who has overall responsibility for kind of every footballing department, whether that's sports science, medical, recruitment. Can you just talk through a little bit about your role as Director of Football Strategy and Data Intelligence, but also the overall structure involving a head coach and the various other departments involved in that?
Yeah, of course, no problem. I think it's not necessarily a totally new thing within football. I think within European culture for quite a long time, or European clubs, it's been quite apparent, and then I think it's come over to England as well. I think ultimately the detail required in each department now is so high that the expectation that one person can be across every single thing, know every single detail about everything, as well as being able to coach the team, deliver on a game plan, pick all the tactics, and then all of the increased sort of media pressures that come now. I think the sort of traditional manager is something that is difficult in the modern game. So I think from a day-to-day perspective, you probably don't see massive amounts of differences, because obviously Mike is integral to all of the decisions that we're making. We work very collaboratively together. So you're probably not going to see like a big shift in how things operate. But what you are seeing is that it allows Mike the time, and everybody who's sort of leading a department, it gives them the time to be the expert for exactly what they're here to do. And obviously in Mike's case, that's lead the coaches, lead the coaching philosophy, lead the man management of the players, picking the tactics, the team, and then ultimately the sort of media pieces that go around that. And then that allows your sort of sports science to be elite in their area, your physios to be elite in their area, your analysis to support, and they're all sort of support functions that come in. And then I think the other bit that it sort of gives is it gives you a bit of longevity, and like the traditional manager might leave because another club comes and takes them, or they move on for different reasons. And then you see big upheaval and the whole staff goes, all of the assistant coaches go. They might take the medical guy, they might take their fitness guy, they might take their analyst, they might even take a recruitment or head scout. And then all of a sudden that club goes back to sort of square one, and they're sort of having to piece everything together again. Whereas when you've got a structure like this, the appointments are club appointments. And so if your head coach moves to another club, that doesn't change your physical plan, that doesn't change your medical delivery, that doesn't change your analysis work. It doesn't change the recruitment work. And these people are then all providing a service to a different head coach. Or if I leave, you bring in a person in this role. It doesn't create quite the same upheaval when there is change, which obviously does happen within football.
And you've mentioned recruitment. There have been 9 new signings at the time of recording. Take us back to kind of the start of the planning for this window. What is it the club were looking for? And then how do you go about actually identifying those targets, bringing them to the club?
Yeah, so I think when I first came in, obviously I got to see a lot of the players playing towards the end of the season, and we sat down as a 3. We talked about the contract lengths of the players that were here with us, who would get an extension, who we'd sadly be saying goodbye to, who we might potentially look to move on. And then ultimately we then see where the gaps are. Then it enables you to start to make a really strong plan of where your target areas are going to be. And then from there, we were able to be quite structured with how we were looking to work. Obviously, when you first finish a season or towards the end of the season, the players that are out of contract are very, very competitive, because obviously with no transfer fee, you can obviously get good value for money within the market. So those are very competitive sort of in that initial early phase. Then we were able to sort of really move on to the ones that we'd identified to make strong investments in. And now we're in a place where we're very, very happy with probably a stable squad. But we've got some fine tuning to do just at the end. I think one of the things that we sort of set out early to do is we knew that there'd be quite a big shift in the physical demands, in the tactical style that we were going to ask of the players this season. So we tried to do as much as we could, as quick as we could, or as early as we could. So we had 7 new signings on day 1 of the pre-season, which I think was really important for us, because it sort of enabled the physical guys and Mike to start really implementing our Wycombe way into those players. And it also allowed them to sort of integrate and become a team, because, you know, when you mix all of these new characters together, I think we've got some fantastic characters within the group, but they do still have to get to know each other. They have to bounce off one another. They have to become a team. So I think getting as much done as early as we could was really key for us. So we were delighted to be able to do that. And then, yeah, I think we finished the season with, I think, 30 players within the senior squad with an average age of about 26.8. And we're currently on course for probably 24 to 25 players within the squad with an average age of 25.8. So we've been able to drop that average age by a year, trim the numbers just a little bit so that we don't have to manage those difficult conversations of players being left out of the squad on match day, etc. And it really makes for the competitive training numbers. And then, as Dan has touched on, it also then allows the space for the academy players to come and be involved in the training sessions and get around the match day squads, which is something that's really important going forwards.
And for you, Mike, there's obviously been a lot of new faces for you to meet over the summer, to bring into the building, to integrate. How do you do that as head coach, both in terms of kind of the team morale, the spirit, the integration socially, and then out there on the training pitch as well, bringing them into your way of working, the coach's way of working, and that integration tactically as well as kind of in a team bonding sense?
Yeah, that's also been the case when I joined in February, because obviously, just going on the point that Tom made in terms of the head coach model, which I think it's really important for this football club and for the fans more than anything that they do have a head coach model, because the previous manager obviously leaves and a load of his staff leave with him, and then suddenly there's no staff to take the first team, and obviously Sam Grace did an incredible job stepping up from the first team, and obviously Sam Vokes going from a player to try and help out. So during that period they did an incredible job. That shouldn't be a case for Wycombe moving forward. Then on top of that, to talk about the integration piece, the staff that came in were obviously something that we all spoke around. They weren't my staff. So what we had in February, we had not only a very busy January transfer window, we also had a completely new staff workforce, and the staff that I've worked with and I've got really good relationships with, I've never worked with them before either. So there was a period in February, March time where not only you're trying to get to know the players and what's going on, you've got a completely new staff force, and that was probably at the time a little bit more difficult to manage than what you would want to have when you come into a job. So you've got that piece now which is settled down, and I think we've got a real flow behind the scenes, which I think's really important. Then obviously the integration of new players, like Tom said, we wanted to do the business early, and I wanted them to be permanent signings, not loan signings. But we had a week in Loughborough, which was a really intense week from a fitness perspective. But every evening, we had some kind of team building activity to integrate them. And I think the beauty of the week that we had in Loughborough was not only did we get what we needed physically, but those 7 new players that integrated into that first week, you know, they've almost, it feels like they've been here for a few years, which has been a huge plus for me from a personal perspective.
Now, talk us through the work on the training pitches. Ultimately, what is a Wycombe Wanderers team going to look like this season? Its style of play, its identity?
Yes, it's a good question. I think a bit of the bit that I want to start with this is we've got 9 new players now, I believe, and hopefully 1 or 2 more, maybe. Although we did 7 of those players really early, they've still only been here 2.5 weeks. So we've got to try and keep a handle on that. And the way we want to play and the kind of methodology that we want to embed on the first team and all the way down through to the academy, it is going to be really flexible, and it's going to be incredibly demanding from a physical perspective, but also from a cognitive perspective in terms of them being focused in every phase of the game. So it's going to be hugely demanding on them. And the bit that I want to try, and I'm not trying to buy myself time here, but it is going to take time to implement what we want to do. And obviously I came in February, and for a number of reasons, I felt up to maybe the Bolton game. If you look at the Bolton game, for an example, we hit the highest physical loads that we hit all season at any single game. And then the 3 games after that, I felt the group really flatlined. And, you know, I have to take a level of responsibility at that because I'm the head coach, I'm the captain of the ship. So, you know, that will be down to me. But what I don't want to do is have a situation where we're trying to implement a style of play that has huge physical and psychological demands on them, but they can't cope with it. So I think this period is really important to lay some foundations. But one thing I will say is it's going to take time, because you're integrating 9 new players with a new way of playing, with a new look. And the other point I want to try and make is we're not trying to be different for different sake. The 3 of us believe in something that is a long-term project, and we believe in a style of play that will eventually get us out of this league, but more importantly, will make us more sustainable at the next level. And I was having the conversation with the guys the other week. My period at Sunderland, we finished 5th the year we got promoted, and the style of play we felt was a really strong way of playing that would help us maintain at the next level, not yo-yo between. And Dan says this internally to staff all the time. We've got to be championship thinking, and we've got to think beyond this level. And that's no disrespect to this level, because it's going to be incredibly competitive this year, and we're really respectful to the league, and ultimately the ambition is to get out the league. Hopefully we can do that this year, but we also have to have a brand and a style that makes us sustainable, not at this level, but at the next level.
Dan, Mike mentions championship thinking. This place certainly is championship standard at the very least. Can you just talk us through a little bit more about the return to Marlow Road, the reasons for it, and obviously with the academy being at Harlington, how that integration, how those pathways will exist for those academy players with the first team?
Yeah, I think, you know, when we took over the club, it was apparent that we needed to find a home that was going to provide what we talked about, Mike's just talked about around the championship thinking. We had to create an environment that was going to give that to the first team. At the time, that was what we were operating in. Obviously, with the thinking of the academy, then to grow strategically, being at Harlington was where we wanted to be. You know, ultimately, as you start growing, you start to find out more, and you start to understand that sometimes that environment is potentially challenge your desires and aspirations. So obviously we always knew that we had the opportunity to come back here at some point. I think I was quite apparent at the very beginning that could be an option someday. And as the year went by, really within Harlington, he understood as we were planning out the academy and how that was going to look, that actually we wanted to make sure that we kept that elite feel. So, you know, bringing the first team back here, you know, it's not ideal from a transitional perspective, but you know we have to work tirelessly with the academy, and there's plenty of examples, even in the first 2 weeks of this season, that you'll see academy players even today stepping out there in Mike's sessions. You'll see, Jeremy's here today. He's around the training ground. We've had Matty Dye from the academy step up here, working among the staff out on the first team training pitch. Rob Quinn will be up here. There's all the academy staff are here, and we have to be really meticulous around how we build that program out. We're really fortunate we've been able to come back here, but that doesn't mean that we take for granted that we still got work at Harlington, and we still got to develop and evolve that space. And even though we have moved here, we've continued to put investment at Harlington, to ensure, again, as I keep coming back to, making sure that environment is elite for them. There's different demands and needs that they need to have down there. But from our side, we're comfortable that we have a program that's set, and Mike's got a very clear structure and scheduling, months in advance, a month in advance, where he identifies where young players will step across. And then there's natural dialogue. We've been speaking today in a meeting around, those next generation of players that are coming through. Okay, Tom's talked about succession planning for our first team. We want a smaller squad to allow the opportunity for young players to step across and get up here. And as you would have seen from the friendly against Sutton the other night, in the second half, we have an academy player on the pitch, playing for that half, and obviously a few more on the bench. So that's what we're doing this for as well, like to have that pipeline through.
Dan, obviously away from the football, we've seen record-breaking season ticket sales for the past 25 years, especially with the kids taking up the offer of the free shirt. The new kits have been launched, great reception that they've had. The new pitch at the stadium, a lot of work going on around the stadium. As an overall picture, both football-wise and on the business sense at the football club, how do you reflect on the summer so far?
Yeah, I think, again, from the onset, we've been really clear that the football side has taken a priority for us, and we've obviously invested in that space. But, I think there's been some incredible initiatives being put in place from the non-football staff that have presented things to us as on the board. And I think one of those things is obviously around the tickets and the shirt sales that come with that, with the younger fans and the generation. And we have to maintain that. We have to continue to build different routes of increasing and improving our fan base. I think it's testament to everyone at the stadium that's working hard to build that. And there's always going to be challenges to that, in different natures. But from our side, we're now building hopefully a football profile that now gives us that platform for new fans and new generational fans to come and join the exciting journey that we're going on. We've got plenty more to come. There's been similar additions in staffing, and we've also lost some really good staff as well that moved on to new pastures. So from our side, we're really pleased with the work that's going on that side of the football club.
Guys, we'll catch up again later in the summer. But for now, thank you, and keep up the good news. Keep it coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.